on to some burns. Yeah, let's talk. Yeah. Now we've got some burn FTRs, burn facts to remember. And what are they? Well, there are some definitions first. You need to know that a burn includes thermal burns. And these are burns from heat source, such as fire, electricity, or radiation. And in this chapter, you're also coding for corrosions. And corrosions are burns acquired through chemicals or contact with chemicals. Now, sunburns are not coded in this chapter. Sunburns are coded in the skin chapter, right? They're coded in chapter, what is skin? Is it 12? I'm not sure, but not here, not here. And also, too, we're going to review some guidelines, but I want to let you know that you are free to go ahead and tap in your tabular list. So this is a guideline that we're going to review here, but feel free. I love this section because you've got images of the degree of burns. We're going to talk about first degree, second degree, and third degree burns, but here's a reference, right? Yeah. So the first image is normal skin. The second represents first degree, and it's just pretty much the epidermis is burned. So it's superficial. This burn is superficial and often doesn't need treatment, emergent treatment, but sometimes they do, depending upon where you get burned. Also, second degree burns involve the epidermis and the dermis, right? Yeah, and you can see the picture shows that there's some redness, swelling, and also the skin looks like it has trauma to it. Yeah. Now, when we get to the third degree burn, that's pretty bad. So it's going all the way down through the subcutaneous. It could even get to the bone. So that's pretty extensive. So when you think about it, you will be coding these burns according to the severity. So the third degree burn will take precedence or be sequenced before the second, and the second before first. Just thought I would tell you. Now let's get into the guidelines. All right, so here is a clipping from your MCG manual, guideline C19.D1, and these guidelines are in order. So, you shouldn't be asking what page is C19.D1. You can just go ahead and just go in order. You know you're in chapter 19, just go in order. And even if you have an old MCG, you still should be able to find the guideline that way. Now, this is how you code and sequence burns. Number one, you're going to code them according to the location on the body. Number two, the severity or the degree of the burn. You're going to code the more severe first, and of course, that's the third, then the second, then the first degree. Also, you will code the extent or the external cause of the body surface area or the total body surface area. It's called EBSA or TBSA. Previously, it was called TBSA, and a lot of players in medical coding still call it TBSA, but in your book, it's going to say EBSA. And then you're going to code the agent or external cause code. And it gives you more in-depth description of how that burn occurred and where it occurred. All right, let me see. Is there anything else? Yep. Sequencing. Make sure you sequence the more severe first. And also, if there are multiple burns of different degrees, you're going to sequence the highest degree first. But if you have multiple burns in the same area, multiple degree burns in the same area, you're only going to sequence or code that highest degree. Okay. All right. And don't forget, this is guideline C19.D. And I just got ahead of myself. If you have multiple burns with this in the same anatomic site, C19.D2. And you're going to code only the most severe. So multiple burns on the same anatomic site and their different degrees, only code the most severe degree. And one more thing I want to talk to you about. I want to talk to you about the rule of nines. The rule of nines is what they call the percentages, your body percentages, right? And these are significant when you're coding for the EBSA and the TBSA, right? So you don't have to remember this because you can just write this down. And also, some of your ICD-10-CMs have the um, rule of nines documented. So you'll see an image with the rule of nines, but generally, this is what it is. This part of your body, and I want to see what you can see. So I'm going to just take a moment to see something. I want to see if you can see you who can see, if you can see my pointer, let me know. Type in the chat when I scroll my pointer around like this. Oh yeah, so you can see it. Awesome. All right. So this part of the body, thank you so much. This part of the body is your trunk, right? And if you burn the entire front of your trunk, that's 18%. And I know it looks like the man is backwards, but he is backwards, right? So if you burn the back of the trunk, that's 18%. If you burn the entire front of your trunk, that's 18% of your body. If you burn your entire arm, that's 9% of your body. The other arm, 9%. Your entire leg is 18%. Entire leg, 18%. And the genitalia, 1%. And the head and neck are 9%. All right. And sometimes you're going to see drawings that, carve them out differently. They may say you might see 9% for the upper leg, 9% for the lower, 9% for the whole leg, excuse me, 3 upper, 3 lower. I don't know, but they'll have their own little numbers. But 9% for the whole leg, whole back leg, 9% of the other. So it's not going to be that like that for the exam. You're not going to have to calculate things. Often they'll give you the body area. Thank goodness. But if anyone says, what are the rule of nines? You can give them this. This is easy. All right. I think that's what we need. Let's get started. We have some coding to do. And if you remember, this is how we solve scenarios moving forward. And I'm talking about after this class. All right. Highlight, eliminate, and determine your first listed first listed or your principal diagnosis. All right, so you have 2 minutes to solve it after I read it. He has 30% TBSA burned with 11% third degree? A, T21.30XA, T24.239A, X08.11XA, B, T21.33XA, T24.209A, T31.31, X08.11A, C, T21.33XA, T24.239, X08.11XA, and D, T21.30XA, T24.209A, T31.31, X08.11XA. A patient suffers second-degree burns to his leg and third-degree burns to his back from a fire resulting after he fell asleep on the sofa while smoking. And remember, he has 30% TBSA burned with 11% third degree. All right, your time begins now. All right. You all are rocking it. The majority of you said the same thing again. You don't need me. You all are rocking. And hopefully you're using your MCG manual. That should help with the guidelines. All right. So I'm going to get started. I don't know how that clock leaves, but maybe it's just going to stay. All right, so this patient has second-degree burns to the leg, third-degree burns to the back from a fire. He fell asleep on the sofa while smoking and has a 30% total body surface area burned with 11% third degree. All right, so these are the key words. All right, I got to reference my guidelines. And again, use your MCG. First, I'm going to sequence my highest severity burn, then the next, then the next. And then I'm going to sequence my TBSA or EBSA. And then I'm going to sequence my external causes. So if we're looking at these codes, we know we have a second degree of the leg and third degree of the back. So I can't really tell what's what. I'm looking at C. The second code doesn't have a seventh character extender, so maybe that's eliminatable right away. And also this total body surface area code, it should start with a T31 or a T32. And you only list these TBSA or EBSA codes when it's listed. So if it's not given, you can't code it, but it is coded here. And I see that A is coding for a TBSA, excuse me, B is coding for a TBSA, and so is D. So what's not coding for it? A and C. All right, I just thought I would say that. And it's important that you pay attention to it because it could help you. So because it's that important, let's go ahead and let's deal with this 30% TBSA burned. So we know A is missing the TBSA, and so is C. So now all we have to do is work with B and D. So let's go to our category T21, burn and corrosion. And also, don't forget, our 7th characters are coding for A because this is indeed the initial encounter. Now, what is the difference between B and D? Right away, I can see that the 4th characters are different. One is coding for a 3 and another 0. So I want to go over to the codes and see what the difference really means. So T21.3 is 3rd degree of trunk, right? And some people, and don't be afraid to ask. Some people might say, well, what is your trunk? Well, this whole subcategory is coding for the whole, well, parts of the trunk that are codable. And if you look at T21.31, your chest wall is a part of the trunk, a specific part of the trunk. The abdominal wall is a specific part. So too is the upper back, the lower back, the buttock. Yes, the male genital region and more, just to give you an idea that this is all your trunk. All right. Now that I put it that way, if you look at T21.30, this is the code for burn of 3rd degree of the trunk unspecified. And if you look at the documentation, we just have burns to his back. Was this specified? Huh. All right, so let's look at T21.33XA. T21.33 is burn of the upper back, and there's no mention of where on the back this patient was burned. And they give you a little bit of information about upper back. It says burn of 3rd degree of interscapular region. You know what? We're not up that far. We don't know where on the back. So I like the unspecified code T21.30XA, burn of the trunk, unspecified. Now this is 3rd degree. So we've got our answer. It's D again. Now let's do our due diligence and finish coding it out. And just so you know, if you had to code this on your own, you do have instructional notes that kind of help you too. And it tells you use an additional external cause code to identify the source and the place and intent of the burn. So let's code all of the burns, and then let's go ahead and code our external causes. All right, so if you look at the next code, T24.209A, we can deduce that this is the burn to the leg, the 2nd degree burn to the leg. T24.209, burn of 2nd degree of unspecified site, of unspecified lower limb except ankle and foot. And this is correct. and the 7th character extender is A, and that too is correct. Now, let's get to the good stuff. This TBSA or EBSA T31.31, and the purpose of this is just to kind of look at the codes. T31.3 burns involving 30 to 39% of the body surface, right? And we do fall in that. We're 30. Now, they want you to be even more specific, right? We selected 0.31 because it answers the depth or the 3rd degree portion, because this green language wants you to identify the 3rd degree. It's the most significant. So they want to know of your body, the total body surface, how much was 3rd degree. And ours is 11%. And 11% falls right within this number, 10 to 19%. So you see it's 11%. So T31.31 is our answer. And we're going to finish things off with our extent or external causes codes. X081 subcategory, exposure to sofa fire. And then when you go to 11, exposure to sofa fire due to a burning cigarette. Man, this tells the whole story. How it happened, when it happened, not why it happened. Well, why it happened, not when it happened. All right. So if you got this correct and you said D, outstanding. Way to go. All right. So I see some aha moments in the chat. That's what I'm talking about. Someone said, I understand. Someone said, aha. All right. Good. Good. And also too, people say, hey, I see that upper back. I didn't realize they separated the codes out. Yeah, they do. Outstanding aha moment. All right. So you want to try another scenario? Okay. Now this one might not be realistic, but we'll work with it. Okay. What are the ICD-10-CM codes for this encounter? A, T21.31XA, T21.21XA, T21.11XA, T31.33, W38.XXXA, Y92.000. B, T21.31XA, T21.21XA, T21.11XA, T31.33XA, W3X.XXXA, Y92.000, C, T21.30XA, T31.33, W38.XXXA, Y92.000, and D, T21.31XA, T21.33XA, T21.34XA, T31.33, W38XXXA, and Y92.000. While in the kitchen cooking spinach in her pressure cooker, the cover dislodged and the steam from the cooker caused Mary to sustain second, 1st degree, 4%, 2nd degree, and 2% 1st degree, 4% 2nd degree, and 30% 3rd degree burns to her trunk area for a total of 36% area burned. What are the ICD-10-CM codes for this encounter? And if you don't think that the longer it is, the wronger it is, you may have an aha moment. It doesn't mean the longest is wrong, but it does mean that those long scenarios can give you a lot of wrong stuff. All right, I digress. Your time continues. All right, so you all probably could have gotten this really quickly. All right, let me see how you're doing. I'm gonna undock my chat. That's right. Someone said they remembered the longer the wronger. You guys rock. Majority of you got this correct. And if you didn't, don't feel bad. You're going to have an aha moment. All right. I'm going to highlight my key terms. Kitchen cooking. She had a 2% first degree, 4% second degree, and 30% third degree burns to her trunk. I'm like, is this woman rolling around in it? So I apologize if I created this scenario because it's not realistic. All right. So the guideline that applies is when you have multiple degree burns of the same anatomic site, you're supposed to code the highest degree, right? So we had first, second, and third degree in the same anatomic site. So we are only going to code the third degree. Everybody with me? All right. So we're going to start with the first code, T21.31 and T21.30. All three of the answers, A, B, and D, are the same, T21.31, and C is T21.30. So if we go to our code, our subcategory, T21.3, this is the code for burn of third degree of the trunk. And T21.30 is the code for unspecified site. So C is coding for unspecified site, and the others are coding for the chest wall. There is no mention of the chest wall. No. So A, B, and D are all wrong. And I know you said, Mrs. Shea, I know you didn't go out like that. But you know what? A lot of these codes, you do go out like that. But let's go ahead and let's do our due diligence. Now, if Mary sustained 36% burns to her trunk area, then her entire chest was burned and her back were burned. And look how they're dividing up the chest and the back. In the previous image, it was 18% on the front, 18% on the back. But here we have 9% upper chest, 9% lower, 9% upper back, 9% lower, in upper chest, 9% plus. The lower chest, 9%, upper back, and lower back. All 36% of her body was burned. So as I said, with the pressure cooker, she must have been rolling, get me in the front, get me in the back. I don't know, but I apologize because it doesn't make sense. But nonetheless, let's go ahead and code this out. So let's take a look at the total body surface area, or the extent of the body surface area, T31.33. So that code should be coding for 36% of the TBSA or EBSA. So let's go to T31 category. These are burns classified to the EBSA, extent of body surface involved. And then we're going to go down to T31.33. This is burns involving 30 to 39% of the body surface, with 30 to 39% of those burns being third degree. And that is our case. She had 30% third degree, and this code is accurate. Now, our guidelines tell us that after you code for the burns and the TBSA, you need to code the extent or the external causes to tell the story. Now we've got a W38.XXA, and this is the code for explosion and rupture of other specified pressurized devices. This is indeed what happened. We had a pressure cooker. It is a 7th character extender. We have a 7th character extender requirement, and see that X? The X says you have to elongate it, and X marks the spot. So we're going to put 3 X's to make this W38 long, so it can be 7 characters. We're going to add the 7th character extender, and there you go, W38.XXXA. In our final activity code, Y92.000 tells you the place of occurrence. So Y92.00 is unspecified, non-institutional, private residence as the place of external cause, specifically the kitchen of unspecified, non-institutional, private residence of the place of occurrence of external causes. And C is the best of the 4 answers. And if you said C, like a lot of you did, outstanding. And if you had an aha moment, that is priceless.
Thank you for attending this class snippet brought to you by AMCI. Until next time.